The movie tells the story of a young prisoner on a quest for vengeance after her family suffered terrible violence. In Tasmania in 1825, during a time called the Black War, there's a woman named Clare Carroll. She lives with her husband, Aidan, and their young daughter, who they affectionately call Nightingale because she's a good singer. One day, important military leaders come to their town. Clare sings for the soldiers because she's hoping to get papers that will set her free. She had been in trouble with the law before, and now she wants to clear her name. After her performance, a lieutenant named Hawkins talks to her. He hints that he expects something from her as a favor for helping her. When she refuses, he forces her. When Clare goes back home, she tries to keep what happened a secret from her husband. Aidan finds out that the papers to clear her name still haven't been signed, so he decides to go talk to Hawkins himself. The next morning, Clare nervously watches as her husband and the lieutenant leave for their talk. A little while later, Aidan comes back without any good news. That evening, Aidan, upset and fueled by alcohol, confronts Hawkins in a tavern. The commander-in-chief, named Goodwin, sees their fight and calls Hawkins to his office. He scolds Hawkins for his behavior and tells him he won't be getting a recommendation for a promotion to captain. After the talk, the very angry lieutenant blames the Carroll family for his problems. He decides to visit them with Sergeant Ruse and Ensign Yago. They break into the home of this young family. To make Aidan suffer, Hawkins takes Clare right in front of him, and then he kills Aidan. He even suggests that Ruse do something terrible to Clare. Unable to bear the child's cries, Yago kills the little one by hitting him against the door. Realizing they've done terrible things, the lieutenant tells Yago to get rid of Clare. But Yago can't bring himself to shoot her, so he hits her instead. Clare wakes up to a horrifying sight, her husband and daughter's lifeless bodies. The devastated Clare goes to the commander's office, but she's treated poorly because they don't want the public to know that soldiers are harming innocent people. She finds out that the lieutenant went north for a new job, so Clare asks her friends to bury her family. Without wasting any time, she goes after the lieutenant. To make sure she doesn't get lost, she hires a guide named Billy. She learns that the soldiers also hired a guide, so they all follow their trail. During a break, the soldiers discuss what happened, and Ensign Yago worries that they could be hanged for their actions. But the lieutenant insists that it's the Carroll family's fault. While Clare and Billy are on their journey, they stop for the night. But when Clare closes her eyes, she starts hearing her child's cries in her nightmares, and she can't sleep well. In the morning, it starts raining, but they continue on their way. Meanwhile, Sergeant Rose comes across a woman with a small daughter in the forest. He takes the woman to his camp, leaving her child behind. Hawkins orders them to tie her to their cart as they prepare to leave. Billy leads Clare to a river, and even though the current is strong, crossing it would make their journey shorter. Clare bravely guides the horse into the water, but the current knocks her off the saddle. Billy manages to get to the shore with the horse, but Clare gets carried away by the current. Seeing Clare being swept away, Billy rushes to help her. After a short rest, they continue their journey. While crossing the river, they lose a bag of supplies, so they have to stop at the first house they come across. Hunger drives them to steal food, but they have to run away from an angry owner. At night, as they're getting ready to sleep, Clare sees a strange man in the deep forest. He seems quite pleased to have found a pretty girl and is calling his friends to join him. However, Billy intervenes and they decide to move on quickly. Meanwhile, Hawkins satisfies his desires with the captive woman. Afterward, he talks to a boy named Eddie who is traveling with them. Eddie has lost his parents and is looking for a way to be useful to the army in exchange for food. One morning, Clare wakes up and notices that Billy is crafting a spear. He's getting it ready because he wants to hunt for some food. Around the same time, Hawkins' group gets attacked by men with dark skin. It's a pretty violent attack. They kill one of the workers and hurt Jag, one of the soldiers. These men have come for a woman who was with the soldiers. But instead of letting her go, the lieutenant kills her right in front of them. It's a terrible scene. The soldiers quickly grab their important things and run into the forest. Jag, who's injured and terrified, starts wandering through the forest. When he spots other people, he calls out for help. But when he realizes that it's the mother of the baby he killed earlier, he panics and runs away. Clare asks Billy to take care of the horse, and she goes after Jag, catching up to him. She ends up shooting the man, and Jag pleads for mercy. The gun jams, and Clare attacks her daughter's killer with her fists. In the intense struggle, she grabs a knife from him and inflicts multiple stabs. She continues to strike him with the guns but until Jag's head becomes a gruesome, bloody mess. Witnessing this brutality, Billy initially intends to leave. However, after discovering the heartbreaking reasons behind the murder, he decides to guide her on their journey. Before long, they stumble upon an abandoned wagon that the soldiers left behind after encountering a group of dark-skinned people. After carefully inspecting the area, Billy tries to caution Claire about potential dangers, but she remains determined to press on. One morning, Claire wakes up from yet another harrowing nightmare, experiencing excruciating chest pain. As a nursing mother, she's grappling with the discomfort of having no place for her milk to go. She loses consciousness and tumbles into a ravine, where she reluctantly agrees to the ritual suggested by Billy in the hopes of improving her well-being. The man leaves her to rest and goes hunting, providing them with a proper meal for the first time in several days. Meanwhile, Charlie, a member of Hawkins' squad, deliberately leads them into a dead end as an act of revenge for the harm the military inflicted on their people. The lieutenant is willing to offer anything to find the right direction, but Charlie adamantly refuses. Without hesitation, Sergeant Ruse shoots Charlie, leading to a heated confrontation with the lieutenant for killing the only person who could have guided them out. A day later, Hawkins openly ridicules Ruse, handing over the gun to the boy Eddie and promoting him to sergeant. With just 4 of them left, dwindling supplies, and no knowledge of the city's whereabouts, their situation grows increasingly dire. In the meantime, Billy and Claire come across Charlie's lifeless body. They honor his traditions with a proper burial and then continue their pursuit. Now, Billy seeks revenge for his uncle's killing. They reach their destination quickly. Hawkins spots Claire and manages to shoot her first. The wounded girl runs away, and Billy catches up with her, offering to hide. He goes for the horse but encounters Hawkins' squad. The soldiers beat Billy and force him to show them the way to the city. On the way, Billy makes loud bird-like noises to signal Claire so she won't get lost. The lieutenant still notices Claire and shoots at her several times. She spends the entire night wandering through the dark forest, haunted by memories of that dreadful night. In the morning, Claire notices the blackbird that Billy had mentioned and follows it. When she reaches the road, she encounters a married couple who explain that she's on the main road to the city. A passing carriage stops, and the lady inside instructs the driver to give Claire a ride. At some point, Claire sees Billy emerging from the forest. She leaps off the carriage and rushes toward him. From the look in his eyes, Claire knows that Hawkins' squad is in trouble. They continue their journey together, and upon spotting a house on the outskirts, they enter it. Unfortunately, they find the deceased owners lying in bed. With no other options, the heroes gather food and clean clothes to continue their journey. On their journey, they spot a group of men leading black people, and Claire quickly aims her gun at Billy, pretending to be taking him for punishment. A few miles later, they are approached by a cart carrying an elderly couple. The couple invites them to their place for rest and a chance to clean up. During dinner, the old man invites both Claire and Billy to the table, which makes Claire very happy. Surprisingly, Billy bursts into tears. In the morning, the elderly couple, Harriet and her husband, takes them into town. There, they encounter Hawkins, who sends Ruse to fetch a constable, claiming he caught a thief trying to harm an officer. Furious, Claire instructs Billy to return to their hiding spot while she follows Hawkins to a tavern. In front of the officers, Claire confronts Hawkins and expresses her feelings. Hawkins tries to defend himself to his superiors and, in an attempt to silence Claire, strikes her in the face. In response, Claire, looking directly at Hawkins, begins to sing before silently leaving. Billy helps her onto a horse, and they race out of town. Later that night, Claire wakes up and, not finding her guide, goes back to the city. There, she sees Billy, who has the appearance of his tribe, entering Hawkins' room and attacking him with a spear. Russ, alerted by the commotion, shoots at Billy, but he still manages to overpower the second attacker and eventually kills him. Claire and Billy run away and reach a beach. There, Billy sings and dances, saying he's free. Claire also sings a beautiful Gaelic folk song as they both enjoy watching the sunrise together.